Have you ever tried to say something important and someone cut you off mid-sentence? It happens in meetings, with friends, even with the person you love. And most of the time, you do what everyone does. You smile, lower your voice, and say, "Sorry, go ahead." But what looks like politeness is actually a subtle way of disappearing. Because every time you give up that moment, you teach the world how much, or how little, your voice deserves to be heard. Today, I'll show you 3 Stoic words that can change that forever. 3 simple words, once practiced by Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, that can silence a room and restore respect to your presence. Stay with me until the end, because once you learn this, no one will ever interrupt you again. The ancients knew this truth well. Words shape the world. The Romans believed that one promise could start a war, and a single command could save thousands of lives. Seneca wrote to Lucilius, "Brevity and calm in speech carry more force than the loudest cries of the crowd. It's not volume that commands respect, it's authority." And that truth hasn't changed. Power no longer rests in swords or shields. It rests in how you speak. In a meeting, if you can't hold attention, you're ignored. In a negotiation, if you can't defend your words, you're dismissed. And even in relationships, if you can't steady your voice, you're overlooked. Most people give their power away with a smile and a whisper. Sorry, Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily. Do not be distracted by what is unnecessary. Hold to what is essential. If you don't protect what's essential in your words, others will take it from you. So how do you reclaim attention without shouting, without anger? It begins with the first word. Word 1. Listen. Why is this word so powerful? Psychologists call it an orienting signal. When you say listen, the human brain instantly shifts. It stops, focuses, and prepares for something that matters. Picture this. A room full of noise, overlapping voices, competing opinions. You don't raise your tone. You don't slam the table. You simply say, "Listen, here's what we need to focus on." And the noise fades. The word listen carries a quiet kind of authority. Epictetus used this same command in his teachings. When his students grew restless, he didn't scold or shout. He would simply lift his gaze and say slowly, "Listen," and silence returned. Centuries later, Martin Luther King Jr. did the same. In his "I Have a Dream" speech, he would begin key moments with the phrase, "Now listen," and thousands of people fell silent, leaning in. When you use listen, you're not asking for permission. You're declaring presence. But attention alone isn't enough. It fades quickly unless you anchor it to meaning. That's where the second word comes in. Word 2. Important interruptions happen because people believe what they have to say matters more than what you're saying. But the moment you use the word important, that hierarchy collapses. The human mind prioritizes what's labeled as important. Imagine this. You're explaining something and someone interrupts. Instead of retreating, you calmly say, "The important point is this." Instantly, the energy in the room changes. No one wants to ignore what's important. Marcus Aurelius, surrounded by advisors and generals, was known to say, "The important matter is the discipline of the soldiers." And just like that, the noise would stop. In everyday life, you might say, "What's important here is that I explain the reason first," or "The important detail changes everything." With that, you're not competing for attention. You're defining where attention belongs. But importance needs time. And that's where the third word completes the power of the first 2. Word 3. Now is the only moment that truly exists. Seneca wrote, "Life is divided into 3 parts. What was, what will be, and what is. We are not masters of the first 2, only of the third." When you say now, you anchor everyone in the present. Picture this. Someone interrupts you, and you respond calmly, "Now let me finish this." It brings people back, instantly. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, reminded his students, "Now is the time to practice philosophy, not tomorrow." Even today, leaders and coaches use the same command. No general says soon, he says now. Because now demands focus, it demands respect. When you use listen, you gain attention. With important, you define priority. With now, you root that priority in the present moment. You're not fighting interruptions, You're replacing their momentum with your own. But there's one word that quietly destroys all of this. Sorry. Think about it. How many times have you said it? You're interrupted and almost automatically you whisper, "Sorry, go ahead." It feels polite, but it's actually self-erasure. Because in that moment, you're not just apologizing, you're asking permission to exist in the conversation. Epictetus warned, "No one can diminish you without your consent." And every time you say sorry, you give that consent away. In a meeting, when you say, "Sorry, please continue," your influence disappears. At home, when your partner cuts you off and you say, "Sorry, finish your thought," you silently say, "My feelings matter less." Repeat that long enough, and people believe it, not because they're cruel, but because you've trained them to. Authority isn't forced, it's embodied. Seneca taught that calm persuasion is stronger than anger, but calm does not mean surrender. So what's the Stoic alternative? It's just as short, just as simple. But instead of shrinking your presence, it expands it. The phrase is, "Listen, there's more." Imagine, you're speaking, someone cuts you off, and instead of fading, you lift your eyes and say, "Listen, there's more." The interruption loses power. Why? Because you've declared that your thought isn't finished, and it matters. In your relationships, it works the same way. A friend interrupts, and instead of backing down, you say, "Listen, there's more." It's subtle but powerful. You remind them your voice isn't noise, it's substance. And people don't interrupt substance. They lean toward it. Even in marriage, in the most familiar conversations, this phrase resets the tone. Partners often interrupt out of habit, not disrespect. But every time you respond with "sorry," the habit grows. If instead you say, "Listen, there's more," you reclaim space without hostility. The Stoics called this discipline of speech. Epictetus said, "Silence is mastery, but also the ability to direct silence." When you say, "Listen, there's more," you direct silence back toward yourself. You reclaim authority, calmly, completely. "Sorry" makes your words sound like noise. "Listen, there's more" makes them sound like truth. At the heart of Stoicism lies this lesson. Your words reflect your character. The way you speak reveals the way you see yourself. Epictetus reminded his students, "Discipline of speech mirrors discipline of thought." Seneca wrote, "Brevity holds more power than volume." And Marcus Aurelius warned, "Waste no words on what is unnecessary." When you say "listen," you claim attention. When you say "important," you define priority. When you say "now," you anchor presence. And when you replace "sorry" with "listen, there's more," you stop asking for space. You embody it. This isn't manipulation. It's integrity. It's about living in a way that naturally commands respect, without ever demanding it. Because the one who carries respect within never needs to ask for it. They bring it wherever they go. So remember these words. Practice them. Let them reshape how you speak and how others listen. And if this video brought you value, subscribe to Stoic Spring. Here, we build calm strength, protect our inner peace, and grow in wisdom every single day. Together we learn to live unshakable.